Shazam, issue 14. Josie Campbell writing with Emanuela Lupacino on the art. All right. Do I take a victory lap to start with, Matt?
You can. I immediately thought of that when I was reading this last night.
Joe, I completely forgot about it. I started the issue, and obviously it starts with Freddy next to the
Yeah.
underground king dude.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the Dudley stuff, and I immediately remembered the whole debate about what was going on with Dudley last issue. Uh, and literally, he says, "I've got superpowers now," and she's like, "What do you mean you got superpowers?" And then he says, "I've got a crowbar," and I went, "Oh, I was right. He doesn't have the Shazam powers."
When she said, "Oh," when he says he has superpowers, I went, "Haha, I got him." And I was getting ready to message you and go,
I
"Hey,
bet you were.
let me know when you reach Shazam." And then when you got to the crowbar, my reaction is the same as Hoppy's here, where I went, "Oh." So, however, despite being wrong, it does not affect the outcome of what happens here because I prefer Uncle Dudley not having superpowers because it adds for some funny stuff.
Oh yeah, him basically just saying he was inspired by Mary, so he put on the logo and started protecting homeless people in the subway system with a crowbar. Is, I mean, it's the funny thing where he seems like such a light, sort of happy character who's doing a good deed, but threatening people and possibly hitting them with a crowbar is very violent and dark. So it's really funny to me.
He's an old maniac. Like, that's what he's doing. He's living in the subway tunnels.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah, hitting people with in defense of people that could be homeless. We don't know. But yes, Uncle Dudley, keep it up, man. We need more people like him in this world.
There's a whole thing here where Billy and Mary are trying hard to pretend that they don't know each other, and there's a great bit where she's like, "Oh, we have to have a private conversation," and he's basically saying, "Nah, maybe we shouldn't have a talk," and she just kind of drags him off, and he's like, "Okay, I'll talk now." And honestly, the funniest line in this whole book for me was just the all bolded bubble from Mary saying, "Good decision, stranger." Just because she's still keeping up the act, but she's obviously mad at him like a big sister. Plus, the way I said that there made me think of the merchant from Resident Evil 4. Good decision, stranger. Anyway, so yeah, so you get the whole thing with Freddy down with the underground the
submen.
The submen, that's what they're called. And he's pretending to be the king of the up top world to try and like buy himself some time. And the king of the submen, Kang, I think his name is just kind of going along with it. It's a whole thing. He's saying, "Oh, we used to rule up top as gods, but then man forced us down here." And he's like, "Do you have any idea what it's like to like have the sky and sun at your disposal, then lose it?" And then, of course, you get a page with Freddy in his blue Shazam outfit flying through the air, and he's like, "Yeah, I know exactly what that feels like, actually." So Freddy's doing his best to kind of stall. There's an interesting thing here, though, because Freddy has the narration in this issue. For at least for his pages. In fact, he's still the only narration, actually. He just doesn't narrate on the other scenes.
Right.
But there's this sort of like alternate narration every so often. It's like his doubts coming in. So you'll say something, and then there'll be this second different color narration box. It's basically saying, "Oh, you're wrong, Freddy. You're a loser," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Something that contradicts what you
Bitter
just said.
and cold, the pain lingers on.
Yeah.
Real quick too, we get a little bit of his backstory. Hasn't really been updated since the Johns, right? And then we get the thing here that he has family out there. They just didn't want him because he had a crutch, and they call him a cripple. And that takes Freddy into, I already love him in this book, the whole Shazam, type thing. But here, adding that layer and how much the family means to him, and not just the superpowers of Billy and Mary and the Foster family too, it really ups those stakes a little bit, because he wants to be wanted. And that's kind of the undercurrent here is he's just going to, do what he does and kind of be a con man to the submen until he can figure out a way out.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with him pretending to be a king is his narration constantly points out that he's trying to, like, feel like he's indispensable, that he feels needed. But then the backstory, a little flashback moment, kind of reveals that he's actually self-conscious about feeling wanted, about feeling needed. So it kind of ties into how he's actually feeling. So the big end of this, when the submen are about to kill him, is he steps on this little like sort of graffiti that's a portal, because one of the questions that came up is like, okay, how are you guys actually, like, you've been trapped down here from a Child of Lightning, which we assume is a previous champion of Shazam,
Yeah.
right? How are you getting out now? And it turns out that graffiti like person, that girl that we saw back in the first part of this arc, she's actually this graffiti artist, and she's not a hero. She wasn't helping Freddy before. She's the one that's been painting these portals to let them out. Now her motivation, we don't really know yet, but I do actually really like this power set, because when he comes back into the subway through the portal and she's standing there and she's like, and she's like, monologuing about like what she's doing or whatever. She talks about knowing how to make a ghost. It clearly shows like what her power set kind of is. She basically like makes like a graffiti painting of a knife on the wall come out of the wall and come to life. And I'm like, that's a really interesting power set, because it seems really powerful, and it is, but she has to have time to paint the thing she wants first. So I like the idea that in the subway she's been graffitiing a bunch of useful things in the wall for the occasion that she might need them. Yeah. And this is like her pulling the knife out of the... I don't know, there's something really fun about that as a concept to me.
No, I like that. And then she's very ominous too, because when she's like, I know how to make a ghost, let me show you. And that's where she plucks the knife out of the wall. I'm like, oh no, Freddy, get out of there, bud.
Yeah, that crutch is going to be the least of your concerns in a minute, I think. So, yeah, and then all the submen start attacking Mary, and Billy's like, I can't transform, the captain's inside sort of looking at the mirror, the portal to the outside world, and saying, Billy, come on, you have to let me help, you have to like turn into me, you have to give me control. And he's basically screaming, help me save them all. And we see like everyone's in trouble. Billy and Dudley are in trouble. Mary's struggling to fight all these monsters. Freddy's dealing with the graffiti girl trying to kill him in portals. And just as this happens, there's a random toddler on the train track, which Billy goes to try and help. And I can't help but notice that the toddler's wearing like a white robe with it looks very godly. It's the sort of thing that you'd expect someone hanging around on like Olympus to be wearing.
Yeah, he says a kid in a toga just ran through here. Yeah. And
Dudley's like, are you seeing this kid now? As if Billy's having hallucinations.
Yeah.
Although his crowbar does come in handy for breaking down some boards, so he's
so you're supposed to use it, not wielding it in defense. You're supposed to pry boards apart.
Dudley is very happy with his crowbar. He loves that thing. Let's not take it away from him, unless he hurts someone, and maybe then we should.
Yes.
Dear. Anyway, so yeah, Billy, like, there's like a magical door behind the boards, and they go into like a field, and the kid's like, how do you not know it's the end of the world? And the final page is like them running from one of these submen who looks really, really big. And the kid just says the time of monsters is here. So that's your cliffhanger. Honestly, fun issue. I think this book has been just consistently entertaining. Even once we transition from Wade to Campbell, I think Campbell's arcs here. I say arc and a half, because you kind of come in halfway through an arc. It's been very solid still been very funny and charming, and I've been really digging having a good focus on some of these characters, and it really does feel like Mary, Billy, and Freddy are getting the lion's share of the focus right now, but that's not to say that the others haven't had a bit of time before, but really digging it. Yeah, and the art's good as well.
The art's really good, and also I like that it's picking up on threads that she had in her Mary book.
Yep.
Right? So we got Uncle Dudley, we got Hoppy, we have others. So it feels more seamless, I think, than when Wade was writing it, just because she's using her threads to also keep telling stories. So it just feels like Shazam's a very coherent corner of the DCU right now.
Yeah. It's a sort of thing where, we thought John's been on this book was the perfect thing, and it ended up being kind of a mixed bag, all things considered. This has definitely been a much better book this time round, but and all of it's, from issue 1 with Wade all till now.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Good stuff. All right, what are you rating Shazam?
It's 7.5.
Yeah, I'm happy to give this to 8. I had a really good time. I think the art's solid. I think it gives a good bit of depth to Freddy, and also Mary and Billy's bickering and her like telling him off for running away. All good stuff.